The Department of Justice and the European Union are teaming up against us to stop innovation, to stop growth from truly happening. Hey, it's Craig here. Anybody want an OLED iPad? We strive for the best overall way to design products to make them easy and simple and intuitive. It has the M3 chip. There's ray tracing support. Apple is not and has never been and will not ever be a monopoly. We welcome the competition. New Apple Pencil? Anybody? Anybody. Really. When you attach it to this side now. It could be just a matter of days before Apple drops more iPads than possibly they've ever dropped before, because it's been over 500 days since the last iPad release, so it's overdue, even if you don't trust any of the leaks or rumors. It's been longer than it's ever been since the iPad has existed between refreshes, and we could argue that's okay because iPadOS is the true problem, but y'all get all fussy when I complain about iPadOS, so we're not gonna go there today. Let's just talk about all of the rumored hardware that could be launching within a week. So, both the iPad Airs and iPad Pros are supposed to be refreshed around the same time, probably on the same day, but I guess they could stagger out the releases if they want. Both the refreshed iPad Air and iPad Pro will come in two sizes now, so not just the Pro. The iPad Air is supposed to get the M2 chip and a larger 12.9-inch screen size option. Very similar to that of the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It just likely will not have a ProMotion display, which I know is a bit of a bummer, but for people who are just using iPads like cash registers or just want a big canvas to draw and write on, it'll probably be an $800 to $900 big screen iPad with an M2 chip on the inside. And in a change that's been rumored for both the iPad Airs and the iPad Pros is the relocation of the front-facing camera to the landscape orientation. We first saw this on the iPad 10, which may result in the relocation of the Apple Pencil connector, you know, the little magnets on the side. There's even a picture of Tim Cook with an iPad on his desk and the Apple Pencils on, you know, the side that it's not normally on. I don't know if Tim Cook would intentionally let that kind of thing leak, but it felt like a subtle nod to what's to come. And in the past, we were often complaining about why doesn't Apple put the webcam there, and it was usually because, well, that's the part of the iPad where the Apple Pencil connects. So if they're moving the webcams, I would imagine that also means moving the Apple Pencil, but we'll see. But the bigger changes are, of course, reserved for the iPad Pros, which are supposed to be the thinnest devices potentially Apple has ever made. I mean, it's not as thin as the Apple Card. That doesn't count. I'm annoyed that you guys make me say that, but yeah, we're talking 5 millimeters thick, which is like thinner than iPod Nanos of the past, and somehow 12.9 inches. It's gonna be very flexible. Apple's getting into the foldable business, and we didn't know it. But yeah, both iPad Pros, not just the bigger one this time, are rumored to make the big ol' switch to OLED, which should be an increase in resolution and, of course, contrast ratio, better dynamic range. I'm not sure about better brightness because, at least with mini LED on the current iPad Pro, that was able to get pretty freaking bright for a tablet with a ProMotion display, and that's usually the big issue with putting OLED on tablets is they can't get it as bright, but I feel like Apple's the kind of company that doesn't like taking some of those compromises, at least when it comes to display specifications, and it's rumored to be using this new dual stacked OLED manufacturing process that allows basically 2 layers of OLED pixels to illuminate on top of each other to achieve better brightness levels. So hopefully that means there's no compromise on the brightness. They'll just be better displays. And most recently, the reports are claiming thinner bezels, about 15% thinner than the current iPad Pros, which is not super noticeable. But if you put it next to last year's iPad Pros, or especially if you put it next to the iPad 10, the bezels should be noticeably thinner. But alongside that, the iPad Pros are also supposed to be making the switch to the 3nm architecture, so the Pros will be rocking M3 chips, while the iPad Airs probably stick with M2. What are you going to be able to do on the iPad with all of that ray tracing power in the M3? I don't know, not use the calculator app that doesn't exist. But there's also supposed to be, alongside this new chassis design, a new Magic Keyboard case to go along with it. So yeah, the $400 you spent on the last generation Magic Keyboard case, throw that thing out. It's worthless because Apple's come up with a new keyboard case. This is supposed to be a bit more premium feeling, so aluminum on the top and likely room for a larger trackpad. Maybe they'll have a way to dock it with these new iPad Pros that helps it lock in place without the floating design, and it'll likely still retain some rubber feet on the bottom so it doesn't slide around. So I don't think the entire enclosure will be aluminum like it is on a MacBook, but noticeably more premium, more luxurious luxurious feelings when it comes to the keyboard case, which probably comes with a price hike, mind you. That should also be prefaced with this whole switch to OLED, especially now coming to the smaller 11-inch iPad Pro and not just the 12.9-inch iPad like the mini LED stuff. This should result in a bit of a price hike. There's some rumors suggesting it's going to be well into the $1,000 plus category just for the entry price, so I'm really hoping they up the storage at least if the price is going to be that high, but it's Apple, they probably won't. And at the last second, there's even been some talk about Apple potentially offering different finishes for the screen, maybe for artistry and that kind of stuff, but I don't know, matte finish with an OLED display is kind of hard to believe. So that's more in wildcard territory. Maybe Apple experimenting with some of those screen protectors that make it feel more like paper. I know some artists out there buy that for their iPads. Maybe Apple wants to have some kind of first-party integration that you can get from the factory. I don't know. But the last wildcard mystery piece of this puzzle is when the heck are we expecting them? Because we saw iPad case makers publishing across Amazon that their new cases for unreleased iPads would become available on March 26th. There were several leakers and analysts claiming that March 26th was going to be the launch for the whole new lineup of iPads, and then Mark Gurman at the very last second, and usually when it's last second he ends up being right, quote tweets everybody and says not true. He doesn't want to say exactly when the new iPads are coming. All he's saying is it's not March 26th, so that means it could be March 25th, it could be March 27th, maybe it's been delayed into April. Apple typically, if they do site refreshes, keeps it between Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and we have April Fool's Day the week after, so I have a feeling based on all of the previous reports that Apple wants to at least announce the iPads at some point next week. Probably pretty early in the morning, a 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. release like that, but apparently just don't expect it on Tuesday. So that's all we have for the release schedule, but I'm thinking by around this time next week we're going to have more answers and know exactly what Apple has in store. So the wait shouldn't be too long from now, but what are you guys most excited for? Are you still keeping your fingers crossed for maybe an iPad mini refresh where they fix the whole Jellygate thing? Maybe at the last second Apple pulls a rabbit out of a hat and adds ProMotion to the iPad Airs. That would make them far more compelling and far more worth it in my opinion. But all your predictions and thoughts, drop them down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos, so thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.